recovering from a pretty bad cough, so excuse me, and do say if you can't understand. I'll try and repeat anything, and I'll try and speed through things so you don't have to put up with this for too long. So EdTech is not a one-size-fits all, powerful practicals in a challenging environment. So my name is David Bauer. I have the very lofty title of founder of an EdTech startup. If you found an EdTech startup, you can be whatever you like. So you may as well be the founder. In general, I do everything. So it's not that great a title. So over the last about 3 years, I've done lots of different things within schools, predominantly primary, some secondary, some FE and HE, under various organisations as well as in demands from schools. So I've done big long stints with Code Club, smaller things with Code Club, some with Code Club Pro doing teacher training, Code Dojo sessions I've ran, lots of activities with STEMnet, STEMnet, Science, Technology, Engineering and Maths Network. And more recently I've spent a lot of time talking to teachers at various levels with regard to Lesson 8 in order to try and better understand what it is that they need and how people can help support that. The approach that I've tried to take with all of this is a user-centred, human-centred design approach. Now, that might seem common sense maybe, why isn't everything designed for the people who are using it? But you do increasingly find devices, technology, practices that really aren't designed that well. So what I'm trying to do is to go back to the drawing board, back to teachers, back to schools, back to educators, and understand what problems it is that they have, what is it that they need to have solved, and how can we help solve that. So it might not be money, it might be money, it might not be the actual technology. They might have a load of technology in school. They might just need to know how to use that technology. So it might be about resources, it might be they need to be pointed towards a book. So there's lots of different intricacies. The service design principle kind of encourages involving these people in the debate. So actually speaking to teachers, actually speaking to heads, involving them in the creation of these products, these services, in order to ensure that they better match to their needs. And it's kind of an iterative process, so it's not supposed to be necessarily finished. So you improve upon a service, you improve upon a product, and then iterate it. And I'm sure today's practicals might be a bit like that. So they might not be perfect, but hopefully next time around they'll be a little bit better still. So some of the main issues and constraints I've found are the resources that are available to them within the school or at home, if you're a home educator or educating anywhere. Budget, current level of knowledge, this can be quite a big stumbling block. There's lots of resources available out there, I'm sure you all know, but they're not always at a level which is right for the people who need to use them. So sometimes there are very, very big gaps in the ladder, there are basically rungs missing. How much time you have with the person, I know I'm very time poor, I'm sure teachers are no different. Often contact time with primary school, for instance, in computing would be maybe 1 hour every couple of weeks, maybe. So you can see you've got time to prepare at the beginning of the session, time to run the session, time to clear up, and hopefully get some learning done in that hour. And then ultimately naysayers. There are quite a lot of these. This is one of the biggest hurdles really, I think. I was at an event recently, for instance, where there were a panel of 4 people, and there were 2 very high-profile speakers that had about 50 years between them experience in teaching, previous headmasters, and both of them were not advocates of EdTech at all. They basically very rarely used interactive whiteboards. They used traditional speaking, as I am now, which I won't be doing forever. And they weren't progressive in terms of the pedagogical changes, the kind of child-based learning, child-based inquiry things. However, these people are very influential. People have them into schools to consult on what they should do to change things. So it's important to understand where they're coming from. Okay, why is it that they're saying, we don't need EdTech, we don't need to do things that way? I think just dismissing them, it probably doesn't really help understand all the nuances of the problem. Then we get to the actual school environment and the pressures that are on the actual classroom. So for instance, we've got the class teacher who's got to teach all of the different subjects if you're in primary. If you're in secondary, you're obviously a subject specialist. You've got the year head trying to obviously make sure you've got progress, achievement and attainment for pupils, all the way up to the SLT, SNT, the senior management team, the heads, obviously, you know, stats, Ofsted stats are important, literacy and numeracy for primary, and obviously GCSE and A-level grades for secondary, and then ultimately Ofsted. What do Ofsted say is important? So all of these are going to be kind of coming down on top of the teacher saying, right, well, what do I need to do? I better not get it wrong. Let's play it safe. So, I don't know if many of you are familiar with Scratch. It's frequently used in primary, not exclusively, some secondaries use it as well. So, you just drag blocks into the middle and then Felix the cat performs whatever has been selected. So you can repeat move 10 steps and, unsurprisingly, Felix moves off to the right. It's not long before Felix is off the screen. How do you get Felix back? Now, if you're a teacher and you haven't had any training in Scratch, how do you get Felix back? Now, this is actually a problem. You know, I actually wanted to teach a class, so I was going to do maybe, we were going to do angles, maybe we were going to do turn 90, we were going to move 100, turn, and things like this. But now I don't know how to get Felix back. So now I've got to go and help this person here, and we've got all the rest of the class, and behaviour management starts becoming a problem because I'm spending too much time here. And all I needed to do was to get Felix back into the middle of the square so I could start again. So a frequent approach would be close Scratch down. Because of course, open it again, we've got a known set of conditions at the beginning, Scratch, Felix is in the middle. But it isn't really necessarily fixing the problem, it's kind of just a workaround. But it is very indicative of the sort of things that teachers come across and then the solutions that they put in place. It's a really pragmatic solution, but it's not really helping understanding. Now, this is EdTech. Okay, now this is possibly what can happen sometimes when the EdTech fails. So we've got another class, maybe we've got some laptops out and people are doing some work. Maybe laptops are configuring, this isn't uncommon, or haven't been charged properly. So what does the teacher do? Excuse me. What does the teacher do? It has been known for silent reading to take place at the computing lesson. I don't quite know if that kind of equates to computing, but this is something that does happen. So this is, you know, we have to try and factor that in to our understanding of the problem to see if we can help improve things. And then a final piece to the puzzle of trying to understand what the problem is. So at a teach meet, quite a popular teach meet, must have been about 120, 150 people, teachers there, which was very well attended. There was lots of talks, not just about computing, but about computing. I gave a short talk, lots of other people, much more knowledgeable than me, gave talks as well. And one of them was on, at the very end, a multi-touch TV screen. This had the most oohs and ahs and wows and fantastic and questions of anything. But very interesting was why, okay? Because this is all, you know, okay, so we need to understand what's going on. Well, teachers have interactive whiteboards in the classroom, you know, throughout the country, but they're single touch. So if you have a child, which doesn't happen very often, and you encourage the child to come and work on the whiteboard, they lean against the whiteboard. And they now can't use this area because they're touching the whiteboard here. A multi-touch screen fixes that problem in one. It's a problem that most people didn't really anticipate. They didn't know that was what the multi-touch was going to be used for. Okay, so very, very briefly, I haven't got this here for you all to read. This is the computing curriculum for Key Stages 1 and 2. It is very short. On the right-hand side at the top is all of Key Stage 1, and the slightly larger bit underneath is Key Stage 2. It's purposefully broad, but that doesn't necessarily help teachers who've got no idea how to take it further forwards. What is good is it does just include very big, broad strokes of, you know, analysing problems, decomposition, and things like this, and we're going to look at some now. So, we're going to do a very quick feed me. I'm quite hungry, so I wonder if you guys help. Just move over to here. Okay. So luckily I've bought some bread. I've got some butter. I have a knife, plate, and some jam of a certain flavour. Some raspberry jam. So, yeah, I wonder, being a robot, I don't know how to do many things. Okay, so I wonder if you guys can help me make a jam sandwich. Now, for those slightly older members of the audience, it would be great if you didn't do too many shortcuts. Maybe you might know a few tricks or two. So, I wonder, could somebody help me with the first instruction? I'm hungry, make me a sandwich.
Locate bread.
Locate bread. Found bread.
Undo bread.
Undo bread. Bread undone. Still hungry.
Remove slice.
Remove slice. Still hungry.
Onto plate.
Onto plate.
Remove slice onto plate.
Remove slice. Onto plate.
Repeat.
Repeat.
Stop.
Stop. Still hungry. Pardon?
Release bread.
Release bread. Getting very hungry.
Take a knife.
Located knife. Pick up knife. Located butter.
Open butter.
Open butter.
Put knife back.
Put knife back. Located butter.
Locate lid.
Located lid.
Remove lid.
Remove lid.
Discard.
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 Discard. More carefully. Pick up knife. Scoop butter. Scoop butter.
Onto bread.
Onto bread.
Spread.
Spread.
Holding plate.
Holding plate. Too many hands. Too many hands. Very, very hungry. We'll skip that.
Remove lid. Discard lid.
Discard lid.
Turn pot upside down.
This is good jam.
Take small.
Take knife.
Apply a small amount of jam to each bread.
Do bread.
Bread.
Spread. Thank you very much. Yum, yum. Excellent. So, let me get some water. So, okay, so that is, I have stolen this from Phil Back, a fantastic teacher. So this is not my idea, but I think it demonstrates how EdTech can be a loaf of bread, some butter and some jam. Probably resources within the budget of most primary school teachers, most home educators. You might even have bread at home. And generally, it doesn't really go wrong. If it does go wrong, you can kind of fix it quite easily. So the issues with regard to failure aren't very high. Okay, so basically what we are trying to do is not to avoid failure, but to acknowledge that things will go wrong. So we're trying to identify ways that things can go wrong in a not controllable way, but in a way that we can still continue, so we can still carry on, so things still are okay. The world hasn't ended. So I wonder if, in a classroom-style way, well, you could take a piece of paper and pass it along. Thank you very much. And for this exercise, you need a piece of paper, which you may have already, and a straight edge, and a writing implement, a pen or a pencil, whatever you like. Does anybody have a pen or pencil? I have. Oh, cool. Oh, does it? Thank you very much. Cool. We do the time. Okay, 9 minutes. Okay, fantastic. So we're now going to do, so art, fantastic, really wide area for kind of engaging children on a completely different level. Okay, maybe they don't kind of get coding, maybe they don't get computing, maybe the teacher doesn't get computing, that's absolutely fine. Maybe they do get art. Okay, there's lovely, wonderful installation projects and collaborations between artists and creative technologists. We have some here today. There's loads of fantastic examples, but we're not going to do that, we're going to do low-tech. So you might have noticed I love low-tech. Low-tech and high-tech stuff I think goes really well. So I'm going to be the programmer, and you guys are going to be the computer, or computers. Okay, first instruction is, take your piece of paper, take your straight edge, and draw a line on the paper. So draw a line. Okay, the next instruction, draw another straight line that intersects the previous one. So, first instruction, draw one straight line. Second, draw another line that crosses the line you previously drew. Okay, and the next instruction is just repeat the last one. Draw another line that crosses the one that you previously drew. And we'll see how many lines you can do in 15 seconds. So repeat the last instruction. Draw another line that crosses the previous line. Another straight line crosses the previous straight line. So we'll be on 10, 9, 8, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1, and last line. Time's up. Fantastic. So now you are all qualified artists. I'm sure most of you were already. So I wonder if everybody would be brave enough to hold up their pieces of art. Excellent. So we have a wide variety. Sorry, could you just come off again? Sorry, I didn't really was. I was looking at the camera. Okay, so this is great. What you have if you read this in a class is very, very similar. So we have a star here. We have quite a lot of vertical and horizontal crosses. Crossings, a bit like brickwork here. Another one there. We've got a few a bit like this, which are kind of a bit more random. Now this is kind of the sort of, thank you very much, this is the kind of the sort of spread that you would get if you were doing it in a classroom as well. And this is an example of algorithmic art. Solowitz was an American artist, an established American artist whose artwork didn't travel. The algorithm for the art travelled. So if you recreate a piece of his art, somebody from his studio would come along and verify it was the right colour and the right angle and the right spacing. And if you can, I'm sure you can see that it's quite easy to extend this algorithm, with the children in the class, to incorporate lots of other different activities. I want to go through. Now we have a minute to do our last practical. Does anybody know what a DDoS attack is?
You ask them to all ask questions at the same time to the teacher or something like that, to see how many questions the teacher can
Fantastic. Fantastic example. Yes, great.
Ask them, who wants some sweets?
Who wants some sweets? Well, we are briefly going to enact a denial of service attack with... So I need a volunteer from the audience. I do need 2 volunteers. Can I have the gentleman with the green and red jumper and the young man here with the Raspberry Pi top? Thank you very much. I wonder if you could give my assistants a hand. Okay, so one of you has to be a web server. You're going to be a web server, so you're going to be a firewall. Sorry, what's your name? Liam. William. Sorry, William. My hearing with this cough isn't very good. William, please speak, William. James is a firewall, William's a web server. So, William, whenever anybody gets you with a ball, you have to reply with the web page. So, a web page might contain the weather forecast, for instance. So, what's today's weather?
5 degrees.
5 degrees. So anytime anybody gets you with a ball, you have to say 5 degrees. And James, you have to be the firewall and stop these attacks getting to William. Because everybody is attacking William. And what they're trying to do is overload William and give him too much work to do. And we'll see how successful this is. Okay? So, would you like to take a few balls?
Yeah.
Thank you. We've only got a few seconds. Thank you very much. Right then. Right then. Everybody else is able. Okay, so obviously a denial of service attack starts off fine. So William has to actually do real things. So William, every time you get hit by a ball, you have to tell us what the temperature is. Oh, there we are. Successful. I think a very successful denial of service attack. Not very many actual requests got through, and the firewall was having to work very hard to stop attacks from all over the place. So in a very short space of time, I'm going to have to wrap it up there. I think that's just a small taste, maybe, into trying to address some of the problems that teachers on the ground may face with regards to the high-tech examples of technology, and maybe where they can maybe start with some low-tech stuff that really engages, hopefully, and then kind of take that out into other opportunities.